Stick with me and watch this big piece develop as I tell you something. I began drawing this picture, and I call it picture since it would be too much to call it a painting yet. Maybe an experiment without any clear plan. I write my stories in such a way, too. Perhaps I should have a better plan. However, that's how I do it now. I had a vague idea that I was going to draw a human, not necessarily a realistic one, since I didn't look at any references. We see people every day, and I reckon I should remember how to draw one. To be honest, once I got to the end of this drawing, I, not surprised at all, wasn't very happy. Perhaps this is the point where I will start planning my pictures and my life. I would always have a vague plan where to go, what to do, but nothing specific. I'll go to London, I'll get a job, and I will skate. That's what I did. But looking back at it, I never took the time to dig deeper into what I wanted from this life. I don't think I will ever know. And I don't think I know now. I find being back home boring. Like, what can be more boring than a place where you grew up and where you know every corner of this place? Well, I'm starting to find out that that's perhaps boring is exactly what I might be needing in order to get my creative juices flowing. Since there isn't anything around me that excites me, I start to create things which excite me. Isn't there a theory that God created the world and then separated himself into many pieces in order to experience what he has created from close up? Aren't we pieces of a huge puzzle finding each other on this land, finding similarities between ourselves, and in that way finding God, or whatever you want to call that driving power once again? I'm talking in lengthy sentences, and this topic seems to be one that is like a baseline topic of which I always think about. Like, how does no one realize that? Perhaps they do, but just don't want to admit to that. Perhaps it's too far out of a concept, and anyone who speaks of it is considered a hippie, a weirdo, or just high. It's a topic that is talked about often and not talked about enough. A taboo and the greatest story ever told. The concept of God, spirituality, eternal life, meaning of life, and so on. I mentioned moving back home and that being boring part of my life's journey at which I am right now. However, I remember being in London and feeling this horrible feeling also, like there was nothing to do, nothing to see that will give me excitement. I know, it sounds bad, but that's how I feel, and that's perhaps how one feels while becoming sober. A lot of people feel excited about getting clean. But to me, it was the opposite. Perhaps all the joy cells have been burnt out, and I deserve what I am getting. Exercising my body helps for a bit, but I can't shake off the boring feeling. And maybe that feeling is supposed to be there. Maybe it's the driving force. Maybe God is boring. Maybe God was bored, so he created a human and put a little bit of himself in him or her. And here I am, part God, part human. Sounds a bit dodgy, maybe even big-headed. However, that's my best explanation of God to me. It doesn't cost anything, like life. It didn't cost you anything to be put on this earth. It doesn't cost me much to create, to write, to draw. It is humbling. And I've heard that God doesn't show up in grandiose ways, but he hides in the humblest places. And it feels good to create. That feeling when I'm writing and the pen is just going by itself. It knows what to do, knows how to fill the page. You're merely just a pen, just an actual instrument to put down on paper what was already there. I'm getting this fresh feeling almost like a cool breeze, although all the windows are closed as I am writing this. This cosmic energy of creation is cool, literally cool. It's chilled, it's super chilled, just the right amount of chill. And exciting. I always looked for exciting things, something that wouldn't be boring. And I found out that the artist path is probably the one that is the least boring. Maybe because one is treading a path which has not been treaded before. And every moment feels like it should be spent on creating, sometimes forgetting about food. The amount of different techniques and disciplines that I want to try out keeps getting bigger, but I have to say stop at some point. I can't do everything, and that's okay. That's why we have limited ourselves in these bodies, went down to earth to limit ourselves. Limits are good, they're healthy. They make one realize what is too much is not good. But wasting time is not good. Rest feels like a torture, like you would rather burn the candle at both ends than rest. But rest is needed, limits are needed. And sometimes early rest, like early bedtime, can mean more creativity in the morning. Early bird. I never thought that waking up at 7 a.m. for me will ever be late. Now I try to wake up at 6, and I want to push my time even earlier. I am trying not to, I just finally feel like I want to. Like, I like to be in the dark, in the shadows, and the Jungian shadow has been on my mind lately, and I feel like I have been digging deeper, and in that sense, finding more light to shine upon my shadow. I'm not so afraid anymore, though I still find some things scary. Being brave is when you are scared of something, but you still do it. And I believe that is what it means integrating one's shadow. The ego grew, but so has the shadow. And if we don't look back, it might just swallow us. In fact, it will. So it's important to be human, not just a good human or a bad human. I'm writing these words at 9 minutes past 9 in the morning as I woke up at 7 a.m., wrote 3 pages in the morning, and went back to bed to rest for another hour or so. I'm having my second coffee of the day, an espresso, and I'm about to eat some porridge after I record my thoughts down on the page. I realize it's good to focus on what is here and now, as that brings me less anxiety. I often feel like a loser, like I'm wasting time, like I should be working every single minute of my day. But mornings like this one, which I consider a slow morning, reminds me that I am human after all. My head feels like a wooden cube. I am probably dehydrated and hungry, but all I can think of right now is that I have to write a little bit more, record a little bit more of this morning energy. And I feel how my head releases tension as I write these words down. Journaling has really helped me with a lot of my issues. The time I spend writing feels like my time. I learned to write every day from Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way, and the morning routine of writing has stuck with me. Even the job offers which I am getting allow me to have my morning ritual intact. I feel new thoughts coming in and old thought patterns leaving. I am becoming more creative in different fields like music. I never thought I would feel so relaxed with a microphone. I am less angry as I notice my thought patterns which start to change. They start to become boring. I'm not so obsessed over my own work. I just do it and I wait to see what happens next. I've learned that for me, it is probably the best to have a part-time job where I can be structured and then have more free time to do what I enjoy, which is creating things, painting, recording. I am getting to know myself. Insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results, as Einstein said. So I had to introduce writing to my creative process. I'm still not the best at listening to my own voice. There's a lot to improve in, but I think more and more I like to look at what I've done in the past and reflect on it. I am beginning to plan my work, even if planning means putting some ideas in order in my own brain. These videos work as little diary entries. I am still not brave enough to look through them and listen to what I had to say. I don't know why. Maybe because when we talk to others, we don't see ourselves. We just see other people. And it's strange to listen to yourself. Criticism, apart from self-criticism, to me is still not the most acceptable thing. I think we are all our worst critics. We don't know how much work has one put into a video or a painting, so it's always best to applaud the efforts. The criticism happens inside, and it's very exciting. It's more like editing. When you give a positive input for someone, it can still reinforce one's criticism towards himself or herself. I experienced that in uni. People would give great feedback on my work. However, I wouldn't stop criticizing myself because of that reason. I would try to outdo myself. I'm sharing all these facts just in case I connect with you and what you're thinking inside while creating. And we all create, either thoughts in our own heads or on paper. In fact, we do create every single second of our day, even if we are unaware of it. I made another video called Creative Process about this topic. Maybe you will enjoy it also. Creative process involves all the events in our day which don't seem to be creative at all, but which all lead towards our creativity. For example, if I am tidying up, I am creating calmness and peace in my head, which will help me in my creative process later on. If I am at work doing something seemingly uncreative, I am practicing discipline of perseverance, and so on. I think we are all born as creative beings, and creativity has a lot to do with play, and sometimes we forget to play even when we are creating. I become very single-minded about how a painting should look like, not allowing my inner child to play at all. Is that creativity also? I don't think so, but I guess it is if I am listening to my own advice. Maybe I'm not so bad at it after all. The journey of creativity is not a straight path. It will have its ups and downs and swerves and complete stops. But if you were once creative in your life, it's highly likely that you have to do it again in order to find that spark of joy in your life again. It is like that for me. And every day that spark changes shape. It's not the same spark as it was yesterday. I bore myself if I do the same thing. But maybe boring is also good. We will see. Another crazy concept is time and how it flies. Sometimes it's been weeks since I last picked up a brush, and I noticed that as if those 2 weeks or more did not exist. It's like I didn't do anything at all for those few weeks. It's terrifying. I think it is important to have a few disciplines, to mix those in together, see how they evolve while being combined, push out of your own boundaries that you set up for yourself, even if for very little, for a few minutes a day. Baby steps. Just a few minutes a day can set an avalanche in a few weeks. Find that time. I know you want to, and I know you have an idea of what you want to do in those few minutes. So do it. Do it. Do it. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you in the next videos. And as always, peace and love, and take care of yourselves. Stay creative, stay positive, and be blessed. Bye-bye.